Hi, and welcome to Faith into Greatness. Today, God inspired me to talk about abuse in marriages. There are many people that don't talk about their sufferings in marriages because they don't want to be looked down on. They don't want people to look at their marriage poorly, or perhaps they want everyone to think they have the most perfect marriage. Regardless, whatever you're going through, I hope you find people to confide in or someone to confide in so that you don't struggle on your own. Look, when you're in a situation, it's really hard sometimes to see a way out. Let me share a story of a woman with you. I know of a woman who's married, and she was sharing with me that they're really struggling financially and they could really use an extra $700, $1,000 a month, but her husband refuses to give up his luxury vehicle. Despite his wife encouraging him to let it go because the vehicle was costing them over $1,100 a month, and encouraged him to get something that would only cost them between $300 to $400 a month, this husband was so adamant. No, I must have my luxury car because this is what I deserve. This person who took a vow and a promise to take care of his wife and children was now putting before them his own desires. Every month, every paycheck, they struggled. They couldn't make ends meet. His account was constantly overdrawn a few $100s. His wife didn't know what to do. She was extremely busy with the home, with the household, and despite applying for many jobs, she wasn't really catching, nothing was really sticking. And then something happened out of the blue. See, God never abandons us. Though other people may abandon us, though other people may not think about their conduct and how it's going to affect people in the long run, God, if you turn your heart to the Lord, and this woman did, God never abandons you. This woman, see, her husband, she would tell me, would complain all the time that he needed to get a second job. And he would always make her feel so anxiety-ridden when it came to money. But he wasn't managing the money properly, and he was spending it in places where it didn't need to be spent. So ultimately, he was running into issues that could have been something that never happened to begin with. This woman felt helpless. Her finances were tied to her husband. Where she received money to buy groceries, where she received money to get gas, where she received money to buy clothing for herself and for her children and the household came from her husband. But her husband didn't have any money. And so every pay cycle and every pay period, she would have to sit there and listen to her husband struggle constantly talk about money, stress her out when she felt like her hands were tied. And in some ways, she was kind of scared to earn money because she didn't want her husband to take it from her and waste her hard-earned money. But God made a way. See, the Lord opened up not one door, but a couple of doors of financial opportunities for this woman. And she started to work and put her money away and not tell her husband what she was making, because when she would, the opportunity would go away. The Lord was showing her, hey, when you share with this person the opportunities I'm giving you, I'm going to make them go away, because God wanted her to save. Because for the future, only God knows what the future was going to hold. As this woman started to work and save, she started to feel more empowered. And her husband, who was extremely disrespectful towards her, started to respect her. The same person who made very little effort to take care of household duties, to listen to her, to be there, suddenly started to make an effort. And, she felt some kind of way about that. In a way, she felt like her husband was an opportunist. And because he didn't in some ways see value in her, he didn't put in the effort. To him, what mattered was the money. As she grew to empower herself, he started to feel more and more insecure. But that didn't stop her. And as she continued to walk in her faith with God, she continued to grow stronger in her confidence, in her abilities, and what she could achieve. The same person who felt so down, despite God taking her to a place of upliftment and of joy and prosperity, felt so depressed in her situation because somebody else was being her quote unquote master, telling her what she could and couldn't do, telling her things, criticizing her, putting her down. Hypocrisy. She always faced this kind of behavior. Her husband would even chastise her, tell her, "You're going to be dead before you're able to walk away from me financially. You're going to always be tied to me. You're never going to be a success." But despite that, this woman kept rising and is a success in her own right and in her own career. And every day stands up and holds her head up high. If you're facing abuse in marriage, please seek counseling, okay? There are a lot of people that are silently suffering, and God doesn't want that for you. God wants freedom for you. If somebody wants to be the head of household and wants to make it look like to the outside world that they got it, that they could do it, that they have all this money when they have nothing, and they want to take you for a ride, and they don't want to support you when you're trying to work and earn money, be mindful of that and pray, because like this woman, God made a way. God made a way for her to work. God made a way for her to have quiet time. God made a way for her to continue to earn her finances on the DL very quietly. And by the way, I feel like there should be a law that allows husbands or wives that are walking away from their abusive marriages to work and to earn their money, to put it away without their current spouse being able to touch it. So when they walk away, they don't need any kind of spousal support from that person. Maybe one day there'll be a law. I hope this message blesses you all. Please have faith. God is always there, present and helping you if you want it. If you want the help, but you got to call the help in. See what I'm saying? Sometimes we think the help is going to come from outside of us, and it does, but not like we think. God will send people into your life if it needs to be that way. But most of the time, you just have to turn to the Lord and God will lead you. I hope this message blesses you all. May the Lord release any kind of burdens in your life. May God's favor be over you and peace. One more thing I wanted to add. You know, there's something to be said about this woman who's growing despite the face of chastisement by her husband. Her husband makes fun of her all the time. Her husband even makes fun of her belief in God and her faith. But despite that, she still stands up in his face. But you know what I want to say real quickly? He's the one with no money in his account. He's the one who's feeling depressed. He's the one who's feeling anxiety-ridden. He's the one who's feeling in the dumps, not her. See, she has money to pay the bills, to pay for things without asking him. You see what I'm saying? But he doesn't have anything. And he can't turn to her and ask her for anything because he wasn't that supportive towards her. You see how God works? It's really interesting, you know? I hope this message blesses you all. Stay strong and faithful to God always. Take care. God